Now our next speaker is Dr. Anuradha Chandramohan. She's going to talk on thyroid ultrasound. Actually, there are many recent advances coming in the field of thyroid ultrasound, and I think thyroid ultrasound has become a bedside test, non-invasive, cheap, easily available. So we will listen to her talk on thyroid ultrasound. Actually, what are the clinical implications of the recent advances, please.
Very good evening, everybody, and thank you very much to the organizers for having me here. What I'll do over the next few minutes is tell you some clinically relevant advances in thyroid sonology. What I'll initially touch upon is to emphasize the importance of objective assessment of thyroid nodules using TI-RADS. And then later on, I'll tell you a little bit about thyroid elastography. There are many classification systems which have been proposed for TI-RADS, but the most simplest of all is the one proposed by Quack et al., which is very much similar to BI-RADS, and it's a 5-point scoring system. And it does not include vascularity, and I'll tell you an example of why. And the components of TI-RADS include looking at the composition of the thyroid nodule first, whether it's solid, cystic, or mixed, echogenicity, the margins, calcification, and the shape. So the composition of the thyroid nodule is classified as either completely cystic, solid, or mixed. By cystic and solid, we mean that 75% of the lesion is either cystic or solid. If it is 50-50, it becomes a mixed lesion. So in this example, the first one is a completely cystic lesion with comet tail artifacts. This is a solid isoechoic lesion. This is a mixed lesion with irregular papillary solid component and microcalcification. The echotexture is classified as being either hyperechoic, where the echogenicity of the nodule is brighter than the surrounding thyroid gland, or isoechoic when it's equal to thyroid, hypoechoic when the echogenicity is same as the strap muscle, and markedly hypoechoic when it's darker than the strap muscle. The margin of the thyroid is described as being well-defined, ill-defined, or irregular. It's called a well-defined margin when the lesion has a well-defined interface with the surrounding thyroid. It may or may not have a halo sign around it. Irregular ill-defined margin where the margins are fussy, irregular when the margins are spiculated. Calcification of the nodule can either be classified as microcalcification when the size is less than 1 millimeter, or macrocalcification when it's more than 1 millimeter. Macrocalcifications normally that we see are chunky areas of calcification. When there is a rim calcification which is along the margin of the nodule, it's rather a benign finding. This is an example to show you the difference between microcalcification and comet tail artifact. I want to drag your attention to the fact that these bright foci called microcalcification are in the solid area, means there is solid tissue all around these bright foci, which differentiates this microcalcification from these comet tail artifacts, which is in the cystic component of the lesion. The shape of the lesion is classified as being oval or round. Round meaning taller than wide, as in this lesion. The vascularity of a nodule can either be peripheral along the margin of the nodule, or it could be central, as in this case. It is not a useful sign because certain lesions which are dense microcalcifications like a classical papillary carcinoma may not show central vascularity. So that is the reason why in TI-RADS proposed by Quack et al., vascularity was dropped as an important feature differentiating benign and malignant nodules. Nodes are normal when they show central fatty hilum, and they are malignant when there is loss of this echogenic central fatty hilum and becomes round in shape. So what is TI-RADS category? One is where it is a normal thyroid gland with no nodule. Two is benign when the nodule is completely cystic or is a colloid cyst. By colloid cyst, I mean a honeycomb lesion. Probably benign when the lesion is either hyperechoic or isoechoic, means it's a solid lesion or it is a complex cystic lesion. 4 is subcategorized as A, B, and C, depending on whether there is 1 malignant feature, 2 malignant feature, or 3 to 4 malignant features. When there are more than 4 malignant features, it is highly suspicious for malignancy. So this is a classical example of a cystic lesion with multiple comet tail artifact. This is a TIRADS 2 lesion, a benign lesion. This is a classical honeycomb lesion, which is commonly seen in nodular hyperplasia, again classified as benign. This is a classical TIRADS 3 lesion, which is an isoechoic, well-defined oval nodule. Whereas a TIRADS 4 lesion is oval hypoechoic lesion. Hypoechogenicity is a feature of malignancy, but it does not have any other feature of malignancy. The lesion is still oval in shape, does not have microcalcification. So this particular lesion has only 1 malignant feature, so it will be classified as a 4A lesion, whereas this lesion is a markedly hypoechoic, irregular, taller than wide lesion with specks of microcalcification, thus a solid lesion. So has more than 4 features suggestive of malignancy and becomes a TIRADS 5, a highly suspicious for malignancy lesion. So in a lesion which is mixed with solid and cystic component, the solid component is what needs to be assessed for TIRADS. So features favoring malignancy include microcalcification, irregular or microlobulated margin, hypoechogenicity or marked hypoechogenicity, and taller than wide shape. So we in our institution assessed about 350 nodules consecutively and prospectively, and to find out what is the positive predictive value in the inter-observer agreement of TIRADS. And this is our results, which show the positive predictive value progressively increases like in BI-RADS, but the difference compared to BI-RADS is there was a large number of patients with malignancy in TIRADS 4 and also 3. But I hope this is partly because in our center, our thyroid ultrasounds are done by doctors of varying experience, but if consistently a same sonologist performs the ultrasound, the positive predictive value will be much better. The inter-observer agreement, however, was very substantial for ultrasound features and good for composition. So overall, the inter-observer agreement is very good, and this particular method can be used reliably. And for the overall TIRADS category, again, the inter-observer agreement was substantial. When we compare the results of other existing systems, this is the performance of TIRADS proposed by Quack et al. TIRADS 4A, B, and C, when we look at it separately, the positive predictive value is lower, but when we actually combine 4A with the 3 category and make 4B, 4C, and 5 malignant, there's improvement in the positive predictive value. So thus, we would say that it's a useful way of stratifying the risk of thyroid cancer. TIRADS is a useful way of stratifying risk of thyroid cancer and helps to talk in a common language. I'll just touch upon elastography briefly. Elastography, there are 2 types. One is a strain elastography and a shear wave elastography. Strain elastography is when mechanical compression is essential, and the shear wave elastography works by sending in short push pulse, and the velocity of the sound that gets transmitted back differs depending on the stiffness of the tissue. So this particular method is prone for inter-observer variability because mechanical pressure that is applied on the nodule can vary, but this method is more robust in that it is not dependent on the observer. So this is an example of strain elastography where a color-coded map is available, and blue, and it is coded from red to blue. Red means soft, and as we go towards the blue, it is more hard. There are 2 qualitative assessment methods which are available. They're almost same, just that one is 5-point grading system, another one is a 4-point grading system. As we go from green to blue, the tissue is more stiffer. The pitfalls of this method is that a benign cystic lesion, like I showed you previously, may have contents which are in high tension, and we may get a falsely hard elasticity score for this particular lesion. And similarly, a malignant lesion which has central necrosis may have a low elasticity score. So that those are potential pitfalls. And similarly, if the patient's got diffuse thyroid disease in the background, there can again be a high elasticity score within the lesion. This is an example of a papillary carcinoma where there was areas of central necrosis seen in the form of anechoic areas within, and this lesion obviously is malignant on B mode appearance but is soft on elastography. There have been contradictory reports on the value of thyroid elastography, especially with strain elastography, and there are studies which quote that the conventional ultrasound findings, the performance of conventional ultrasound findings alone had a better performance than elastography alone or a combination of elastography and B-mode ultrasonography. RFE is a new technology which comes under the shear wave elastography, and where the velocity of the sound transmitted through the lesion is given in meters per second. This is a classical appearance of a benign lesion where the lesion is brighter than the surrounding thyroid tissue on RFE elastography, and the velocity through the lesion is 2.06. On the other hand, this is how it gets displayed, and also displays the depth at which the velocity is measured. So there are 4 categories which are very similar to the Asteria score, where if the lesion is softer than thyroid, it will be brighter than the thyroid. When the lesion is, stiffness is equal to thyroid gland, the brightness would be the same. The lesion and the thyroid nodule would appear similar. If the lesion is more stiffer than the surrounding thyroid nodule, it would get more darker as it gets more stiffer. So this is a classical example of a benign nodule I already just showed, and this is the example of a malignant nodule where the lesion appears larger in size compared to the lesion seen on B mode and appears markedly hypoechoic on RFE elastography. There's another technology called supersonic shear waves, which is very similar to RFE, which also gives a stiffness through the tissue, but this gives measurements in terms of kilopascals. And only difference between RFE and this particular elastography is that this gives us a color map, whereas RFE is only capable of giving a grayscale image of elastography. Using RFE technology, we can measure the velocity of sound that goes through the lesion, as I mentioned, and stiffer the tissue, higher will be the velocity. The normal range that is obtained from thyroid is approximately 2.55 meters per second. So this is an example of a benign thyroid nodule where the measurement is about 0.97, and this is an example of a malignant irregular hypoechoic lesion with a velocity of 8. This is what happens when there is multiple areas of microcalcification within the lesion. There would be no display of velocity. It becomes xxx meters per second. So this is difficult to interpret because this just means that the velocity ranges are beyond what this machine is capable of measuring. So our experience on RFE is we looked at 214 cases, and the diagnostic performance, I'll just sum up instead of reading the whole thing. There was overlapping values between benign and malignant nodules when we looked at velocity measurements, though there was a statistically significant difference between the two benign and malignant nodules. Whereas the performance of VTI, when we looked at just the imaging qualitatively, the sensitivity and the specificity was much higher. And the ROC analysis showed that better performance of VTI compared to TIRADS and VTQ, and this was to our surprise. And this is very interesting in that this is where VTI can act as a problem-solving tool. This is an example of a patient with FVPTC, an oval isoechoic nodule. It was very difficult to perceive these eccentric, subtle hypoechoic areas within the nodule, but when we put VTI, the hyperechogenicity in the nodule just stood out. And this was a patient who had FVPTC on surgical histopathology. So I would like to conclude that VTI performance of, the diagnostic performance of VTI was higher than TI-RADS VTQ in our setting, and there was considerable overlap in the velocity, so there is no use in just taking velocity measurements in the lesion and interpreting it. And the limitations of elastography needs to be understood. It's not good for lesions which are mixed, cystic lesions, and lesions which have calcification. This is a major limitation of elastography. And there is also limitations to the range of velocities which can be measured. And the thyroid itself being a superficial organ and we having to use a transverse probe on a curvilinear nodule, there could be problem with contact between the probe and the nodule, and velocities can also be influenced by carotid pulsations. And moreover, the ROI that we can apply on the nodule is fixed at the moment, and we have to randomly sample velocities. So problematic lesions still remain problematic in spite of elastography. The take-home message I would like to say is objective assessment of thyroid nodule using conventional ultrasound is the way to go at the moment. Elastography is a useful adjunct to conventional ultrasound but cannot replace conventional ultrasound at the moment. Thank you very much.